Welcome everybody to Zeta Global Radio. I am your host, Lainey Savante Walken, and thank you for tuning in today. If you are a UFO or extraterrestrial alien enthusiast, if you aren't but want to know more about the consciousness from the higher realms of really what is out there, truth, fact, or fiction, today we're going to shed some light on it as the MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, established in 1969, is having a symposium next month in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Our first guest today is Donderi. He's a co-founder and principal consultant of a human factors and ergonomics consulting company based in Toronto, Ontario. He spent 47 years at the Department of Psychology of McGill University in Montreal, now retired, and he is now working on different things, including his interest in extraterrestrials, where he is using his specialized knowledge and research skills in the area of human visual perception, memory, and thinking to study the evidence about the behavior of extraterrestrials who have been present on or near our planet for over half a century. He'll tell you more. He's got published scientific studies on this, and what's really interesting to me is that we're really bridging fact and fiction today. So welcome to the show. We're really glad to have you here representing the MUFON Symposium, Dr. Donderi. Welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you here, and I'm really excited that you're kicking off this show. And this show, our radio show, Don, is normally, I would say in general, a spiritual talk show where we talk about consciousness and upliftment and angels and masters. And every now and then we'll bring in paranormal, we'll bring in aliens, or we'll talk about, are we alone? So this is a really interesting topic to talk about today and to have the symposium here with us, in discussion. So I thought maybe what we would do is just start off a little bit. I know I've began a little bit of your bio, but I'm interested to know where you, as really this whole background in science, sort of like got interested in sort of in the UFO topic and where it's led you to where we are talking about it today.
Well, it's very simple. I'm talking about evidence. Now, people have been reporting what we all commonly call UFOs for well over 70 years. It goes back further than that, but in the modern era, since the late 1940s, there's been increasing evidence that quite qualified people who know what they're looking at and know what can be seen and can't be seen, people who are experts in flying, experts in understanding radar, experts in understanding photographs, experts in talking to people and interviewing them. Many people with these qualifications have come to the conclusion, and I'm one of them, that we are being visited by extraterrestrial spaceships. That's as simple as I can say it. In other words, some, not everything, not all, but some of what people report as UFOs are in fact extraterrestrial vehicles. And some of those vehicles have ET crews. And the third part, and this is probably the most interesting and the most disturbing part, is that some of those ET crews basically kidnap people and study them, test them, probe them, and put them back again. In other words, we're being studied just like we study other animals on this planet. The difference is we're being studied by beings who come here from a long way away and for whatever reasons are interested in what's going on this planet. Now that's my position, and that's based on basically 35 or 40 or 50 years of systematic study of this by me and by many, many other people. Believe me, it's not my idea alone. But that's what that's the conclusion I've come to. And you mentioned the fact that I'm a retired psychology professor. That's true. My research specialty was human visual perception. Now, where does most of this evidence come from? Human visual perception. People are reporting what they see, and then they're reporting what they remember seeing. So my other specialty, which is human memory, comes in as well. I've published lots of research papers on human visual perception and human memory and the relationship between the two. How does memory change what we see afterwards? How do you remember things? Are they different from what you actually saw? What kind of effects interact between the two? And my conclusion after all of this study is exactly the one I started out with. Some of what people report as UFOs are ET vehicles, flying saucers, spaceships. Some of those vehicles have ET crews, that is, aliens. And some of those aliens, or ETs, kidnap people against their will, take them onto the spaceships, stick things into them, put it plainly, look at how they work physiologically, and put them back down again. And I remind you and your audience that that's exactly what we do when we're interested in how the bears are getting along in the North Woods, or how various species are dealing with our own environments, and so forth and so on.
Or how chemicals are working on rats. I mean, I could think of a million different examples.
Well, we do that. We take advantage of other animals to study both them and things that are important to us. And other critters are studying us.
Well, let me ask you this. Are we studying them?
Well, not very much. Here's what, first of all, thank you for inviting the MUFON speakers to talk, because what you're advertising for us is one of those conferences, one of the few conferences where people who are informed about the subject talk about it. So yes, this is a scientific conference. It's a conference of interested people, those who want to come, and a dozen of us, plus a few others, who are actually going to give talks on subjects having to do with this. Many of them have great contributions to make. Mine are fine. They're modest. Other people have been in this business a long time and are going to be telling us very interesting things about what they know about the ET phenomenon.
Why is there such a stigma or this feeling that people are woo-woo and cuckoo for coconuts when there's so much scientific area? And I say it like that because that also is for people like us who are, woo-woo because we believe in archangels and ascended masters, and people can believe in these spiritual things, but they can't see them, yet aliens and ETs and UFOs are empirically evidenced, as you're saying, but people still think it's out there and not real, which is always, to me, a bit confusing.
Here's why. And basically, psychological researchers have studied this and have come to an understanding of it. First of all, it's frightening as hell, pardon the bad language on your program, but if you are one of the people, if you are a species which is under investigation by a smarter species, I didn't say a nicer species, I said a smarter species, that can get in vehicles and come from distant planets and visit us without us being able to do a thing to stop it, then that's a bit frightening. And so how do most people react when they come up against some frightening information? If it's not right over them, like if you yourself hasn't experienced this, the best thing you can do is forget about it, or give yourself a reason to forget about it, because it's just too frightening to contemplate. Now, everybody can come up with a reason for not paying attention to UFOs, and here's one. We've been making fictional movies and writing books about this as fiction for centuries. So the idea of extraterrestrial visitors is not new, but for us it's fiction. And it's much safer to think about it as fiction than it is to think about it as reality. Because if you think about it as reality, the next question is, what do you do about it? And then when you start asking that kind of question, who do you ask? What is your government doing about it? What is the military doing about it? How are they going to protect us against all of this? And those answers are not easy to come by. And so people, first of all, realize that our own technology isn't, as far as we know, quite up to matching the alien technology. Now, we're not a very peaceful species, humans. We tend to be fighting each other a lot of the time, and we do it with high-powered weapons. There's been many wars since 1945, but the last big one was when the United States blew up 2 Japanese cities with atomic bombs to stop an ongoing war. And we really don't want to think about the possibility that somebody else might have even more powerful weapons that we can't deal with and that we can't stop coming this way. We don't know whether they're going to use them. We have no reason to know whether they're peaceful or hostile. All we do know, and this is based on evidence, is that some of them are kidnapping some of us, subjecting us to tests to find out how we work, and perhaps more, and then putting us back again. So as I said, we're in exactly the same position as the gorillas that Jane Goodall studied in Africa, the bears that we study when we're looking how things are going in the wild woods in the north, and so forth and so on.
Let me ask you one question before we take a break. If there was empirical evidence that showed that these ETs are, we know that they're smarter, but if they were smarter in a way that was pro-humanity, where they wanted to collaborate, or I guess the question is there, because when I think about people who pray, they pray to their angels, they pray to their masters, they pray to their galactic team, their spiritual team, because they are the ones of higher wisdom. In my mind, I think, well, if these ETs were of higher wisdom and they can collaborate and be in harmony with us, is there anything to show that there is that? Because that would make people feel a lot more safe than knowing that there's just aggressors who are doing what you're saying. Is there anything to show that side of this coin?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's evidence to show they're interested in a dispassionate way. I don't think, as far as the evidence that I have read or heard is concerned, these beings are rather dispassionate towards the creatures they're studying, namely us. They're not out to do us direct harm, but there's no evidence that they're here to do us any good. And so we have to be very suspicious of their motives, put it that way. I am, in any case.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you want to just speak real briefly about what you will be presenting at the MUFON Symposium so people can get a sense of it before they come and see you and everybody else?
Sure.
Now that we've just rocked their world.
No, I'm going to be presenting evidence about a test that we've developed that helps to sort out whether people's stories about being abducted by aliens are true or not. And most of them, many of them are. Not everybody who tells that kind of story is telling it in good faith. Some people just want to hassle the rest of us and make fools of us. Other people may just be seriously confused about what happened to them, and it may not have anything to do with an alien abduction because there are psychological problems that might lead people to think that these things are happening to them. There's a lot of research that shows most of the reports that people have been abducted do not come from disturbed people, and so the reports are reliable. I've just contributed one bit of evidence to agreeing with that statement, that when you put people to various tests, that paper and pencil tests, true-false questions, things that it wouldn't be bothersome to answer, we can sort out people who are trying to fool us into thinking that they've been abducted from people who haven't had that experience. Finally, from the third group, which are people who have genuinely gone through this experience and are sincere about it. So my contribution, and it's a small one, has been to help validate the stories of people that MUFON in particular is collecting who've gone through this abduction experience. And there'll be a lot more at this conference about the abductees themselves and what they've experienced.
Wow, thank you. I'm very impacted by this. I've just heard so many things for so many years. I've worked with people in the UK who've been running festivals, and the stories I heard, it's just such important work. And we hope in time we can have you back on the show and talk further more about it. You alone we can do a whole hour with, I sense that, so maybe we'll revisit this. But we are going to take a break. In the meantime, please listen to some of our great sponsors. You are invited to go to the MUFON Symposium. Go to MUFONSymposium.com to learn more. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We will be back in a moment. Conscious businesses. Do you have a powerful prayer, meditation, affirmation, audiobook, or music that you're ready to bring to the global stage? Have you considered taking your enlightened gifts to the next level by recording them professionally so the world can hear your knowledge and wisdom? Enlightened Audio and Sound is your production source for taking your talents and making them and you known all over the planet. Record in a magical setting with the expertise of renowned music engineer, composer, and recording artist Howard Merlin Walken. Will not only assist you in developing a concept that can be recorded with top-level commercial quality, but will also assist you in bringing your media asset to market in a variety of mediums, including digitally to iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and thousands of more outlets. To learn more, visit our Facebook page, Enlightened Audio and Sound, about bringing your business and career to new heights. Hi, Lainey Savante here, and I'd love for you to visit my new Facebook page for my private tarot and oracle session readings called Intuitive Wisdom. That's IN2UITIVE Wisdom. Conscious strategies for manifesting a more harmonious life. Don't we all want to have that? Let's see what's in the cards for you as we look at what needs to be cleared, expanded upon, and evolved. There's a lot to explore when we take a deeper look inside ourselves. Thank you, Dawn. Welcome back to the show. Thank you, Dawn, for being here and sharing your wisdom and your evidence and your passion. And I believe this whole show today is about passion, and it is about following your true consciousness, like everything and everybody who's on Zeta Global Radio. And for those of you who remember this, back in 1997, there was a time that something happened that was pretty significant in Arizona. I come from LA, I lived in New Mexico, Arizona, actually own property over there. So I remember this well. So let me just read this to you. On March 13th, 1997, something extraordinary happened in the skies over Phoenix and across Arizona. On that clear evening, a parade of low-flying, mile-wide V-shaped formations of orbs and craft glided silently overhead, attracting the attention of at least 10,000 people. So what we're here to do today in this segment is to invite a witness who was here. She was not a UFO advocate at the time. In fact, she was anything other than that. She was a well-known and acclaimed physician and health educator. Dr. Lynn Ketei is here with us to share about her background and share about how this pivotal day changed her world forever. And now she is involved in this very powerful, important topic, not only that we're talking about today. They're sharing about it at the MUFON Symposium next month, but this is something that everyone should be talking about, and our listeners have open minds, so that's why we're here talking about this. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ketei. It's good to have you here. I'm really thrilled to share your information with our ZGR listeners.
Oh, it's great to be here, Lainey. I really appreciate it, and I think that your audience will also appreciate the fact that the Phoenix Lights wasn't just the hard data, which I am the only witness. I'm actually a key witness that has the only 35 millimeter photographs of these anomalous aerial phenomena, up close and personal, by the way, which we can get into, as well as during the mass sighting, that have been analyzed and authenticated by military and university optical physicists and experts as true unknowns. And this is really significant because for anyone that doesn't know what the Phoenix Lights were, that are now called the Phoenix Lights, on March 13th, 1997, as you alluded to, thousands of people were actually looking up at the sky purposely for a glimpse of the Hale-Bopp comet, which was very clear in the northwest sky. When they also got a glimpse, and by the way, I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I'm sure a lot of your audience can appreciate.
Exactly. They're all about everything is on point.
Exactly. And there's so many that I describe in my book, and we can talk about today. But anyway, thousands of people were looking skyward purposely to see the Hale-Bopp comet when they also caught a glimpse of these and we just learned from the Peter Davenport, who's the director of the National UFO Reporting Center in Seattle, Washington, who spoke with me last year at an Oregon conference just dedicated to the 20th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights mass sighting, that one of these crafts, and he received thousands of reports, by the way, and one of these actual craft, was 8 miles wide, which is just mind-boggling. But at any rate, there is so much more to the story than the general public and even UFO experts know unless they read my book, because it wasn't just 1 or 2 events. It was many events for over a dozen hours, and it wasn't just these lights that seemed to be attached to something in V, delta, and even boomerang shapes that traversed at rooftop level. The technology was incredible because not only was there no sound from these massive formations of light or craft, and people saw gun get metal in the bottom, and one of the pilots that's in our documentary was actually underneath one of these craft and looked into these giant wells of spinning energy that did not reflect light out. It was just very, very unusual. And some people actually saw these orbs. I call them an orb because the light was self-contained. Yeah. Actually, separated from the main craft, went out into the environment, and then redocked with it. And some people thought take off at blink speed without even dispersing the air. And the military tried to intercept one of these craft right over Phoenix during the mass sighting. And as they approached, the lights dimmed, and then it just disappeared. I mean, there is so much to this story. But at any rate, if you go on the Phoenix Lights Network website, www.thephoenixlights.net, and go to the photo page, you'll see my unique collection of these 35-millimeter pictures that cannot be denied or explained. And what has happened since?
The question that comes to me that's really important to share is, you have these photos, of course you just sent them to your website, you have this documentation, but here we are in 2018. I want to share with listeners a little bit just to bring it make sense that A, you were what you were doing prior to this moment, and B, what did you do once you had this footage? Because you alluded to that as well, that you didn't share with us right away. So I want to just kind of talk about the evolution of who you were to that moment, and then what happened what did you do with the footage, or where were you at in this whole experience and unfolding it?
You know, I've always said it's not about me, it's about the data, and that's the bottom line here. I did not want to come forward, and actually it wasn't until 1995, and you had mentioned that, and it's true. Both my husband and I are physicians, very healthy skeptics, had no interest or knowledge in this topic at all. Before we both saw up close and personal, right outside our bedroom window 2 years before the mass sighting, the same exact orb phenomena as I would also document 2 months before the mass sighting. And those pictures are amazing for anybody that goes on the photo page of the Phoenix Lights Network website. I caught the same mile-wide phenomena head-on, turning into a V shape 2 months before the mass sighting, and called around and found air traffic controllers, and this was January of 97, who saw the same thing at the same time, and they had no idea what it was, over Class B restricted airspace, 1,000 feet altitude. I mean, they were alarmed. You must call into the tower if you're in that area, and no one did. And actually one of them was a meteorologist and said that these lights, these points of light, that totally equidistant from each other, over a mile wide, that seemed to be attached to something. And we hear that again by thousands of people 2 months later during the mass sighting, actually turned against the wind as a unit and then elevated and moved behind South Mountain, which is south of the airport, Sky Harbor International Airport. So when I said, so what was it? There was silence. And then one of them said, beats me. I said, you're air traffic controllers. You're supposed to know what's in our airspace. And we stayed in contact. I continued to photograph these anomalous phenomena. I guess the scientist in me just compelled me to get it documented.
Well, you want to know what's fact and fiction.
Right, up into and including, even though I didn't know what they were, and these were at a distance, unlike the close orbs. But I have to tell you that if you go to the photo page and you look at the pictures, and these were analyzed 3 years later by Navy optical physicists, very meticulously, Navy optical physicist Dr. Bruce Maccabee. The same exact phenomena was in the background 2 years before the mass sighting when I was taking pictures of the closed orbs, as I would also document 2 months before and then during the mass sighting. Unbeknownst to me, thousands of people were seeing the same thing. My video of the endpoints of a giant Veer triangle, which again, the air traffic controllers confirmed was over Class B restricted airspace. And a little aside, they also shared with me that there was a private pilot about 5 miles out on approach to Sky Harbor who called into the tower and said, "What the hell are these lights in front of me?" I mentioned it in the book. I mentioned that in the book.
I want to talk about that book.
This is important. A few months ago, we learned that pilot was none other than actor Kurt Russell. I mean, there is so much to this story, and the story keeps evolving. And what happened was that once thousands of people saw what I saw and was documenting for 2 years, and they saw it throughout Arizona as well as Nevada and California and New Mexico, it sent me on a journey, to answer your original question, a journey to find a logical explanation for what I saw and experienced up close and personal. I have yet to find it 21 years later. But what I did was push my entire accomplished medical career aside for 7 years to get answers. And I kept an intricate journal, ended up with a 750-page journal that I didn't know what to do with. And I produced video and workbook curriculums on vital health issues for the last 40 years, worked with NBC and USA Cable. And I really have to say I felt obliged after I learned such incredibly credible and fascinating data. Plus, I continued to photograph these phenomena and have them tested with no answer, and finding out that this is happening worldwide, that other countries are much more open to these things being otherworldly, as our former governor, Symington, admitted he saw one of these about 10 years, right after the 10th anniversary, and called them otherworldly as a military pilot. I had to come forward in good conscience, and I really did a lot of soul searching. I was ready to just stick it all in a drawer. But as a scientist, as an experiencer, as a physician, to let people know that they're not alone, that they're not crazy, even though most anomalies can be explained, only a small percentage cannot. Just because we don't have the technology yet to definitively define what these things are, it doesn't mean they're not real. So it's time we get this topic out in the open, address it, accept it, and study it, so we can find out not only who's driving these things, but also move forward on our own evolution. And that's why I finally came forward in 2004 as an educator, to just let people know the facts and also how it affected people at a very deep level, not just the hard data, which is half the book, and that this has been happening since human documentation began, and there's a very close association and connection with Native Americans and indigenous peoples around the world. That's a fascinating aspect all on its own.
Beautiful. All right, I'm jumping in because we only have another couple minutes, and I want to make sure we address two things. One is, briefly, let's share what you'll be presenting at the MUFON Symposium. Two, let's just talk briefly about your documentary and your book and how to find it, and then we're good.
So on Friday the 27th, I'm actually presenting a free lecture, a 2-hour lecture from 10 to noon for anyone in the area that can make it. It's fascinating how the story, and the story itself is really fascinating, how it unfolded through the media. It's really mind-boggling when you see how the story unfolded through the news media and so forth, and we'll talk about a lot of the things that we just talked about here in depth and how it affected people at a very deep level. On Saturday morning, I am also lecturing, but this one really pertains to the MUFON conference itself, on how the Phoenix Lights inspire future generations. That alone, that has been my passion, is youth education. My AIDS and teen pregnancy and substance abuse prevention education programs are being distributed by Discovery Education, and I'm working currently on a curriculum, and just actually published a graphic novel activities coloring book called The Phoenix Lights, UFOs, and Crop Circles Adventures of Sue F.O., Field Observer, and Hugh F.O., H-U-G-H-F-O, and he's a little alien, and it's for all ages, and we're going to be talking about this and how there's different aspects of how myself I've been very focused on inspiring young people. They come to our event. Every year we have a anniversary event at the Scottsdale Harkenshay Theater, which is sold out, and I'll be sharing that and going into the schools, and children and youth thirst for this knowledge, and it's so important that we not only educate but inspire young people to really just open their minds and their hearts to the reality of this topic and what happened in Arizona 21 years ago. So I'll be talking about that on Saturday morning at 10:30, and then showing the documentary with a Q&A at noon, which is free also for the public. So I hope people will join us and also take a look at the website, the Phoenix Lights Network, which is packed with information to explore and consider. Go to the GAP page, which shows a 12-year study of the different craft, the 10 different craft, thousands of reports. It's just mind-boggling. And also the book, The Phoenix Lights, A Skeptic's Discovery That We Are Not Alone, and our internationally award-winning documentary, The Phoenix Lights Beyond Top Secret, which are now offered on Amazon. And the Kindle version, by the way, has colored pictures and links. It's really cool for only $9.99. And the documentary, if you have Amazon Prime, can be watched for free.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being so passionate and really allowing people to see that. And I had said that earlier with Dawn, is that all of us need to be open-minded no matter where we come from. It's not a certain segment of the population. What is happening, what we're seeing, what you're experiencing, what people are witnessing affects everybody. So that is what we are here to share and share with our audience. And we hope that you all do join our these wonderful speakers. This is just a few of how many people will be there the weekend in Cherry Hills. So please visit MUFONSymposium.com. I will be posting all of Dr. Ketei's information through all of our circuits. So thank you for being here, and I wish you a phenomenal and successful, first off, all your media projects, but of course at the symposium too. Best of luck, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. The data speaks for itself. I just hope people take a look at it and consider it, and also keep looking up. And that's a double entendre we're going to be talking about at the MUFON Symposium as well.
No doubt. All right, we'll be back in a moment. Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Trice offers detoxifying body wraps and facials using natural organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Visit their Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare Facebook page or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Mention ZGR and receive a complimentary ionic foot detox experience. Hi everyone, Lainey Savante here. Listen, you are invited to the 2018 Mutual UFO Network Symposium taking place July 27th through 29th in Cherry Hill, New Jersey next month. Titled UFOs, Extraterrestrials, and the Future of Humanity, this symposium is expanding the consciousness of the UFO topic with an entire weekend of knowledge focusing on awakening enlightened attendees to the full possibilities and truths that exist. There'll be multiple film screenings, lectures on science and technologies, and also discussions on transhumanism. 2 free Saturday workshops are available, as well as walk-in student discounts. So to learn more, visit www.mufonsymposium.com. MUFON is M-U-F-O-N. Hi, Lainey Savante Walken here, and I'm so excited to announce that the Holistic Chamber of Commerce is now up and running in both Cape Coral and Fort Myers in Southwest Florida. If you are looking to be part of an organization and represent excellence in holistic and sustainable mediums and businesses, we'd love to have you be part of who we are. Go to holisticchamberofcommerce.com/Cape Coral or holisticchamberofcommerce.com/Fort Myers and learn all about what we are doing here in the beautiful land of paradise. Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. Thank you for being here today, for listening to all these stories that are probably new to some of you and to some of you not. We hope that all of you take the opportunity to go to the 2018 MUFON Symposium that's happening, as we said, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. This is going to be a spectacular event to learn so much. And of course, we're going to learn even more with our final guest, Kathleen Martin. She is a leading UFO researcher, author, and lecturer. Her expert testimony has been heard on the History and Discovery Channel, National Geographic, many documentaries. She's quite an astounding acumen in the field of UFO research, as well as being part of the Mutual UFO Network since 1991 and volunteers as its Director of Experiencer Research. So we're proud here at ZGR to welcome you to the show. Welcome. Thank you, Kathleen, for being here today.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you.
So let me ask you this. I guess we should give people a little bit of background that we did with the other two guests. That was this your line of work, or did something happen in your life that led you to this? Because of course Dr. Ketei was a doctor, and Dr. Donderi was a lecturer in a lecturer in the university. So I really kind of want to give people a background on so many people we're encountering, and this is about encounters, about how this is evolving and turning into your life's work.
Well, my professional history was in social work and social research, and then I moved toward education, and I was an education services coordinator. But my interest in this topic was sparked way back when I was 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
And Uncle Betty and Barney Hill had a close encounter and subsequent abduction in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. So Betty called my childhood home and spoke to my mother, who was her sister, the following day. And although I had a very satisfying professional career, the idea of discovery on what was actually going on here kept nagging at me. And so about 30 or so years ago, I decided to leave my profession and to embark on a journey toward discovery on my aunt and uncle's UFO sighting and abduction. I wanted to know if it was real. There were many skeptics who were changing the story from what I remembered. I wanted to do a completely thorough investigation on it, and it led to my first book, Captured: The Betty and Barney Hill UFO Experience, in which nuclear physicist Stanton Friedman wrote 2 chapters on the investigation of the star map that Betty was shown when she was on the craft. So I joined the Mutual UFO Network. I was a field investigator, and eventually, in 2011, was asked to become MUFON's Director of Experiencer Research. So that's what I've been very busy doing. We have a team of about 20 people. Dr. Donderi, who was on your show, is one of those people. And I am a researcher, author, and public voice for MUFON on the ERT. And Dr. Donderi and I have just completed a comprehensive 3-year study on experiencers. So that's pretty exciting. We're going to be talking about that at MUFON's International Symposium.
Well, the whole thing is astonishing to me and somewhat frightening. And this show is interestingly always about upliftment and positivity, but the truth of it is it's also about being authentic, and it's about really coming into the truth of who we are. And we can't really know the truth of who we are and our origins unless we know the greater scope of all the people here on the planet and non-planet and off-planet. And one of the questions I asked Dr. Donderi, and I'm going to ask you again just to verify it, because it's the one part that keeps sticking in my mind, is in all the research that you've done, and clearly you've done quite a bit in many, and of course been personally affected by your family members. Are there any, or is there any proof that extraterrestrial beings, some of them may come into, they may be nice. I don't know even how to say it. They may be of a positive nature. Or do we have ones that want to impart their wisdom of, generosity?
The survey indicates that there are some very positive extraterrestrials who appear to be coming here. When I asked the question, if you could end your experiences today, would you? 71% said no, they would not end their experiences.
Wow.
And the open-ended questions received responses such as they are here to raise human consciousness and spirituality. They want to raise us to a higher vibrational frequency because it will be much easier for us to live at that frequency, that where we live in a very dense planet now, and we're very warlike, and they're very concerned about human behavior. So they appear to be, over time, attempting to raise human consciousness, to raise our awareness of our environmental awareness. They're very concerned that we haven't been good stewards to our environment. And they say that they have come here for thousands and thousands of years, and they come back periodically in order to assist with our development. So that is one of the very strong messages that we have received. There are other groups who are not as concerned about us, but the good ones, the nice ones, the benevolent ones, say that they are attempting to control the ones that are not as nice.
You just touched on a really important piece I'd like to expand upon. People talk about the Galactic Federation. They talk about what you just said, that there is a whole consortium of beings who are trying to sort out a balance, both off-planet and on-planet, and infiltrating the government and not. And, we can go as far as we want or as little as we want, but when Dr. Donderi was saying there are the dispassionate ones, the ones that aren't as concerned, I love, and I just feel more settled in my being that you said there are the benevolent ones, because I have to believe that. That is my truth, that there are benevolent beings, just like there are ascended masters and archangels and many galactic higher realm members and beings that are helping us get the work done here for the ones who are trying to move the world forward in a positive way.
Absolutely. And they are concerned about our planet. They're concerned about humanity. And, some of the experiencers say that they are having negative experiences. And so I'll say, well, what is negative about it? And what I'm finding out is that they might be people who are soldiers or whose profession it is to be violent, to carry guns and that sort of thing, and they might be called monkeys or apes because of their behavior. These non-human entities express concern about the military and the use of nuclear weapons and the possibility that a nuclear war could destroy a massive amount of life on this planet. They don't want that to happen. We know now that it did happen on the planet Mars, and Dr. John Brandenburg is going to be speaking about that at the MUFON Symposium. He worked for NASA, and it was with NASA funding that he found evidence of 2 thermonuclear explosions on the planet Mars. They do not want to see that happen on this beautiful planet.
Is there research to indicate that there are several other planets with life forms? Do you even expand into that, or do you stay primarily focused in the people here who have been, is borrowed the right word? What is the word that you say? I know you're saying experiencers versus abductees. I just want to get the terminology right and honor it.
Yes, we call them experiencers because if you call them abductees, it assumes that it was a negative experience. If you call them contactees, then it assumes that it was a positive experience. I use both of those terms at either end of the spectrum because some people are contactees and some are abductees. But the word that I use to encompass all of this sort of generically is experience or experiencer.
Wow. Okay. Terrific. So anything that we can impart to our audience, not only, of course, we want them to all to come to the MUFON Symposium, but for some reason, if they can't, is there anything that you would want the general population, wherever they are, and we're in multiple countries here on Zeta Global Radio, that they should know just from your heart and your truth about what you've now amassed in your, many decades of research, that we can quantifiably or just, emotively share with our listeners about this particular topic here today?
Well, I have been researching this for many, many years. And in the beginning, Betty and Barney, my aunt and uncle, were terrified by the experience they had. My uncle suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. But when they underwent separate hypnosis over a period of 6 months with a very well-trained psychiatrist, Dr. Benjamin Simon, who specialized in deep trance hypnosis, they discovered that their fear colored their perception of what occurred. These entities, and they were gray-colored entities, were kind to them. If they took away Betty's pain when she was experiencing some pain, they were very reassuring, and they apologized at the end for frightening them initially. And Betty even invited them to come back and speak with scientists if they could arrange it. The leader who led Betty down the path back to her car said, well, that decision is not mine to make. Betty said, well, how will you find me if you do have permission to do that? And he said, we can always find those that we wish to find. And it appears that they did find her again. And it appears that some of this is generational, too. And it makes sense that they would want to bring about positive genetic changes and positive spiritual changes through generations. In terms of hybridization, it does appear that they have been taking genetic material and that they have used that genetic material from the human mother, the human father, and they seem to be masters at genetics, and that they are able to upgrade this human DNA. And the children, I've met many of the children who have undergone this kind of process, who appear to be what we might call hybrids. I'm not certain that they have alien DNA, because experiencers themselves, after they have this experience, have many of the characteristics of near-death experiencers. They become more psychic. They feel that they have higher intelligence. They are more environmentally aware. They perceive of themselves as being residents of this planet, not of a particular country. They become empathic. So there are very many positive changes that take place. Some experiencers even develop the ability to heal. And about 35% to 45% of MUFON's experiencers in our study state that they have been healed from illnesses such as cancer, such as chronic fatigue and immune dysfunction syndrome, such as heart disease. So any of a number of different diseases. And these children have all of these wonderful characteristics as well. Highly intelligent, well-adjusted kids from what I have seen. who excel at everything.
Wow. Thank you for that. Well, if you want to join more in this conversation live with Kathleen Martin and everybody else you heard today, as well as many other speakers, please go to MUFONSymposium.com. You can learn all about how you can come to this incredible event and learn also more about the Mutual UFO Network, which, by the way, was established in 1969. This isn't just beginning research, as Kathleen has alluded to. Thank you so much for being here today. And just let's tell our ZGR listeners one more time but the name of your book, because that sounds very interesting. That I'd like to take a look at it myself.
4 books, and I've just written a 5th. But the one I mentioned is Captured, the Betty and Barney Hill UFO Experience. You can find my autographed copies of my book on my website at kathleen-martin.com. You can also get them from any online bookstore, and I will have them at the MUFON Symposium for sale.
Terrific. Thank you so much for being here today. We greatly appreciate it, and we appreciate all of you who listened in. I look forward to seeing and hearing your feedback. Wishing you a wonderful week. Take care. Hi everyone, Lainey Savante Walken here, and I warmly invite you to join me as well as Esther Miner, who's an intuitive medium, Reiki therapist, and meditation guide, along with Chantel Fanak, who is a hypnotist, life coach, and Reiki master, for a day of celebration. And that celebration is of you. We invite you to let go, relax, and find a sense of self within. You are invited to join us for a full day of enlightened experiences to remind you of the peace, harmony, and freedom that you already have. You'll be inspired and excited in renewed belief systems as you engage in meditation, Reiki, hypnosis, tarot, music, nature, community, and sacred wisdom. Space is limited, and we invite you to register now by going to soulwarrior44.com. Your renewed you awaits. Welcome to the Natural Awakenings Northern New Mexico July issue. Natural Awakenings feature articles share the important health benefits of organic farming. They are also proud to present exclusive interviews with Grandmother Flor de Mayo and several of other indigenous grandmothers and inform you about important alternative options to opioids for pain relief. A lot of amazing events are happening this month that will help you connect to other like-minded people in your community. Be sure to check out the calendar and relish in the cosmic connection with your fellow New Mexicans. May we all be inspired this month to look at the bigger picture. If you like to market your business or services with Natural Awakenings, New Mexico's leading wellness magazine that reaches thousands of health and wellness conscious readers, please email publisher at naturalawakeningsnmm.com or call Andrea at 505-999-1319.